Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into the 2025 Breakthrough Agenda Report. It's a massive global plan to hit fast forward on clean energy. We're going to look at the trillions of dollars pouring in, why that money isn't reaching everyone, and what the world plans to do about it. Let's jump in.
All right, let's kick things off with just one number, and wow, it's a big one. By 2025, global investment in clean energy is expected to hit $2.2 trillion. That's not just a record, it's a huge signal that some serious money is finally flowing into the green transition. But here's where it gets really interesting. That $2.2 trillion is nearly double what's going into fossil fuels. So we're seeing this massive shift in where the world's money is going. And that leads us to the two most critical questions, right? Is this shift happening fast enough? And maybe even more important, is it happening for everybody? And that's where we run into the big problem. Because when you really dig into these numbers, you start to see that all this progress, well, it isn't being shared equally. I mean, even with all this record investment flying around, it's super concentrated. Over the last 10 years, emerging and developing economies have seen less than a tenth of that growth. It's pretty stark. A clean energy transition that only works for some people just isn't a global solution. It can't be.
So the question becomes, how do you fix this? How does the world actually get on the same page to make this whole transition quicker, cheaper, and frankly just easier for everyone? Well, that is the exact problem this massive international effort known as the Breakthrough Agenda is built to solve.
Okay, so what exactly is this blueprint? Let's take a look at the framework they've put together for this collective action.
So, at its core, the Breakthrough Agenda is basically this huge collaboration. We're talking over 60 countries. That's like 80% of the entire global economy all getting together. And their goal is really powerful. Just make clean tech the easiest, most affordable, and most attractive choice everywhere by 2030. The whole strategy is to create these tipping points through teamwork, The idea is that green options suddenly become the no-brainer choice for everyone.
And this is where you really get a sense of how big this thing is. It's not just about solar panels or electric cars. It targets the 7 biggest emitting sectors of the economy. Everything from power and transport to the actual steel and cement we use to build our cities. Like for road transport, the goal is simple. Make zero-emission vehicles the new normal. For steel, make near-zero-emission steel the go-to choice. It's a really comprehensive A to Z approach.
Okay, big goals are great, but how do you actually turn them into action? Let's look at how the agenda plans to measure success. A goal like clean power is the most affordable option. That sounds fantastic, but it's pretty vague, right? How do you actually know if you're on track? Well, to answer that exact question, the 2025 report introduces something really smart. And they're called success statements. And this is key. Instead of just tracking progress towards some far-off goal, these statements define what the finish line actually looks like. They're concrete, measurable descriptions of what practical success in each sector will be in 2030.
So let's take the power sector for an example. Success isn't just some fuzzy idea. It means the rapid rollout of clean power spreads to all regions. It means investment in grids and storage ramps up, especially in developing economies. And it means we get better at trading electricity across borders. See how that works? It totally shifts the focus from an abstract target to a really clear, actionable vision.
Okay, so that's the framework. But what does this collaboration actually look like on the ground? The report gives some pretty cool examples.
Let's take a look at fertilizers, which is a new focus area for them. Turns out they're responsible for about 2.4% of global emissions. And as this chart shows you, the problem isn't just in one place. About a third of the emissions come from making this stuff, but a whopping 2/3 come from using it on farms. It's the perfect example of why you need everyone, from the factory to the farm, working together.
Or how about electricity grids? I mean, connecting them across countries is tough. You got to align standards, harmonize all these different rules. But here's the payoff. By working together on those headaches, countries unlock these huge shared benefits. We're talking more stable power for everyone, lower costs overall, and a much faster way to bring more renewables online.
And for heavy industries like steel, this kind of collaboration is a total game changer for getting projects funded. Imagine this, an iron exporter wants to build a new green plant, but man, that's a huge financial risk. But what if a steel producer in another country signs a deal, an offtake agreement, promising to buy all that clean iron? And what if their governments step in to support the whole thing? All of a sudden, that risk just melts away. And just like that, you've created a brand new green supply chain. It's only possible because everyone worked together.
So, the blueprint is there. The examples show it can work.
So where do we go from here? How do we take all this potential and turn it into real progress?
Well, the report itself is actually pretty blunt about this. The foreword says it all. Despite the progress we've seen, we are barely scratching the surface of what's possible with collaboration. We're leaving a lot of opportunity on the table.
And it's not just a report saying this. Businesses on the front lines are feeling it too. Check this out. A recent survey found that while a huge 85% of business leaders say this kind of international teamwork is critical, only 28% have actually seen real, meaningful progress in the last year. That's a huge gap between what everyone agrees is needed and what's actually happening.
And a huge piece of that gap comes down to money. Remember that investment imbalance we talked about at the start? Well, this number, $32 billion, that's the annual public funding for clean energy in developing economies. And the report doesn't mince words. It says this is well below what's needed to make the green transition a reality for everyone.
Which brings us right back to the defining question of this whole thing. The blueprint is getting clearer. The success statements make the goals real and tangible. The examples prove that this kind of teamwork can actually work. So the real question is the world ready to move beyond just talking about potential and fully commit to the collaborative action we need to build a sustainable future for everyone? Honestly, the answer to that question is what's going to shape the entire decade ahead.